everyone. Welcome to the Golden Ratio podcast. I am Jen, GR Mom, joined as always by GR Dad.
Yeah, hi.
How's it going, GR Dad?
Fine.
Fine.
No, it's good. I was just trying out something different.
Yeah, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Keep me on my toes.
So, yeah, how do you like it?
I like it. it.
There you go.
The cocktail of the week is a cocktail that I invented called the Canada.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. Canadian whiskey, lemon juice, maple syrup. It's basically a whiskey sour, but Canadian.
With maple syrup.
Maple syrup instead of just simple syrup.
Oh,
And then Canadian whiskey.
not bad.
Canada.
Yeah.
Canada.
You're not that mapley a person
I
normally.
hate maple, except on my waffles.
Of course, lemon neutralizes maple syrup.
Is that true?
No, I mean, just in terms of flavor, it takes some of the, super sweet out of it.
Yeah.
No, I don't mean it like turns into nothing.
I don't know if I've mentioned this before. So there was a commercial I was watching for My 600 Pound Life, which is a show on TLC. And, it's about super morbidly obese people who get weight loss surgery and their kind of journeys through things. It's a very empathetic show. But I think it was that show. And there was a pair of twins. And it's like an outtake or something, or a bonus bit, and so they had a nutritionist who was visiting with them at their house, kind of talking to them about what they ate. And she's like, how often do you eat candy? And the answer was like a lot every day. And she's like, okay, so what do you like? If you have candy, what do you have with that? And they said diet sodies. And she's like, diet sodies. And she's like, one of the girls was like, yeah, our mom told us when you eat a sweet, if you drink a diet soda after that, it cancels out the sweet. And I was like, that's the saddest thing, that like their whole life they've been like eating a Snickers bar,
fight the sweetness.
And I think if they drink a Diet Coke after that, it cancels it out.
Oh, Mom.
That's not true, everybody.
No.
Also apparently not true that lemon juice cancels out maple syrup.
No, don't start getting that stuck in your head. That was even less basis.
No, I think that's more likely than the diet soda canceling out the Snickers bar.
I guess.
Anyway, no, I do not really like maple. I like maple syrup on pancakes and waffles, but I don't really like maple in anything else. Mm-hmm. It just is weird.
Cookies or whatever.
No.
People put it in stuff.
Yeah. But lots of people do like maple, and I think...
Yeah, like Canadians.
Our maple syrup's from Vermont. Actually, a friend of the squad sent us this maple syrup from Vermont. It's very good.
But Canada has that maple syrup strategic reserve.
That's true. It got robbed that one time.
Got robbed. It was a whole scam, wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't know that they caught the guys who stole the 12 tons of maple syrup.
I mean, that's harder to unload than a Rembrandt.
There's a whole black market for maple syrup. Black market maple syrup.
Wow.
I know. So
That's
maybe
hilarious.
We'll do a Murders in Paradise. That is not a murder, nor is it in paradise.
God, I could see some Canadian in Saskatchewan, going to the local grocery store and buying some maple syrup and being like, "This is from the strategic reserve. I can tell. It's got that taste."
Okay, so let's see. I have no Gen updates, which I've been
administrative updates. You mean?
I don't think so.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Audible's our sponsor. audibletrial.com/the golden-ratio. There we go.
Somebody sent us avocados.
Oh, that was great.
That was hilarious and nice and just
And they were delish. They were normally
totally fun.
The grocery stores here, they do have some South American avocados, but mostly it's the normal Hass avocados. But these were California avocados. They were definitely a different kind. And man, they were really creamy and smooth, really tasty.
Yeah.
From their tree in their house.
We did not give any to Guac because it's a waste. And
I think you're not supposed to give avocados to dogs.
Is that right?
Yeah. That's why Guac doesn't eat guac. Otherwise, they'd be shoveling it into that guy. You're not supposed to, I guess.
Well, there you go. Now I know why he wasn't offered it. Anyway, that was super nice.
All right, dog updates. I got a list here. Hops and the shark.
Yeah.
So I let Hops out in the morning sometime this week. And she starts walking real fast through the water at a shark. There was a shark swimming around on our little beach, right in the water on the little shelf where Hops stands. Little shark, baby nurse shark, comes up there, and Hops is like, "Ooh, big fish friend," and goes up to, and of course the shark swam away right away. But yeah, there's a shark, same length as Hops pretty much, and Hops is like, "Hi, shark," and the shark's like, "I'm out."
It is a little interesting that this is while we're in our like shark movie watching time. She's never had a shark friend before.
No.
And here we are watching all sorts of quite terrible shark movies, and all of a sudden, shark for her.
I know.
We saw a shark yesterday.
Yesterday was swimming on the beach. It was probably the same one, right?
Was it? Was like that brown nurse shark?
Nurse shark, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think, there will be a while that kind of the same ones come by every day. I think it probably was.
If it works for him.
Yeah.
And I'm glad there wasn't any chomping. I mean, Hop still has 4 feet, 4 paws.
The sharks are around here are very uninterested in being near people. They just go away like any other fish if you try to go up to it.
Didn't you see one swimming?
I did. I was swimming, and that was maybe a couple weeks ago.
This is Jacques Cousteau stuff. This is amazing.
I swam over a shark. There's a shark under me. When I went swimming yesterday, there was like parrotfish swimming along with me. Those things are huge.
That is cool.
I mean, it was like half the length of my body. They look big in the water,
right?
But then you always are like, oh, it's sort of distorted. Your dad always goes to like, it's 30% big. It looks 30% bigger. He said that every time. It's such a dad thing. It's such a dad thing. And I'm like, I know it was still a big fish. But
I think I bit my tongue the other day when you talked about the parrotfish.
I was in the water. So there wasn't like, oh, I'm out of the water and the water is refracting it. I was looking in the water.
Were you looking through the air in your goggles?
That's not the same thing.
I think the light bends once it leaves the water. I don't know. Are you a fish?
That's fine. You go ahead and gaslight me about the size of the fish that I swam with.
You know how big it was.
Where'd you learn the 30% from? From your dad. And then you've been like repeating
physics class. Every physics class I've ever taken with optics, they talk about the refraction into and out of water.
Did they tell you if you're swimming that it counts?
They don't go into that much detail. They don't talk about how it's different in goggles.
They sure don't.
But you can have total refraction where the fish become invisible.
That was the sound of me rolling my eyes.
This is me making a face at her rolling her eyes, which is great radio. I mean, for podcast quality, this is awesome. Here, let me gesture. Yeah, anyway. Parrotfish, very cool.
Yeah, it was cool. Big crabs.
They're kind of scary. They got that like parrot-like mouth. I mean, I guess that's why they're. But it looks like a beak, like it's got like 2,
Yeah.
It looks like it could chomp. It could pinch a finger.
Oh, it could chomp. I mean, it bites friggin' coral rocks.
Yeah, pinch a finger, something fierce, something like, yeah.
Was not scared of me, but was not interested in hanging out with me.
Yeah.
The dolphins from a few weeks ago were very interested in hanging out with me and figuring out what the heck I was doing.
Because they felt your love.
I think also because they're giant, and they're like, this lady's not going to do anything to us.
And they felt your love.
Maybe.
And you were professing it loudly. They're like, oh, she's talking about stuff. She wants to pet us, she says.
So other than that, Voods has an ear infection. Not a bad one, but the poor guy was like at like 2 a.m, shaking his head. Shake his head. Shake his head. Rub his head around. We were up for like half an hour tending to Voods.
And then he barked. And then
because he was mad at his ears.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't deal well with discomfort and frustration.
Yeah.
Maybe he does deal very well with it. He doesn't eat it into himself, let it eat into him. He expresses it. But it could be anything from, I would like to go outside now because I'm bored, to my ear really hurts. It would probably be the same level of woof.
Yeah. And probably the same level of understanding.
Yeah. Also, play with me. I would like to bite your ear. Woof.
Yeah. But he's fine, so we've got the medicine in him, and he seems fine today.
He's still eating stuff he's not supposed to, and that's it. He definitely also eats stuff he's supposed to. He eats everything.
Yeah. Chegs is doing good. No updates there. He's just fine.
Nope.
CB, we had one night of thunderstorms this week, and oh my God. Was that 2 nights ago?
It's not been a great,
we didn't sleep?
It's not been a great week for sleeps for us.
No. They of course started at like 2 a.m. until like 5 a.m. And then you just get him calmed down, and then there's another rumble of thunder. And it wasn't even a bad one, but
he
gets on edge.
And I told him that, and he didn't care.
No. He's very restless. But he wants to be near us.
He's restless on top of me is what he was.
Yeah. So anyway, nothing to do about that. We have tried all the stuff, and there's kind of nothing that'll really just calm him down.
This is what it's like to have little kids. If we had, this is what it's like.
Just put it on the list
Can't
of
sleep.
the 50 billion reasons I think it would suck to have little
And
kids.
the advantage of little kids is they can't, like, they're not 85 pounds. They don't squash you and they don't scratch you.
You can also lock them in their room and just let them scream, right? Is that frowned upon?
It's frowned. Yeah, it's exactly frowned upon.
Huh.
Yeah, they're just, yes. And both spouses have to be on the same page. Like with the extinction burst with any of our dogs, if I'm getting weak, then it doesn't work, and this is a terrible
I'd be like,
process.
lock it in its room. It's fine.
Oh my God.
See?
Yeah, and I'd be like, oh, he sounds or she sounds really sad.
I'd be like, it's fine.
Like, it's fine. It's fine.
Aren't you glad I wasn't like...
I mean, you do that with the dogs, and it sort of works with the, ignore.
At some point, you
them.
do just have to ignore, like, the freak out, because it's not helping them.
No.
And it's like if Brody felt better with us, like, tending to him, we would totally tend him, but he doesn't feel any better.
No.
He's just sort of in frantic mode. He kind of disconnects from his brain and is just kind of panicking. And if you give him the 5 minutes to just deal with it, then he's fine. I mean, not always with the big thunderstorms, but
That's right. You
with
try to
some
hug
stuff.
him, and he weasels out. He squirms away, and you pet him.
You
and
just try to pet him, and he still gets up. He runs around. He gets
put
up.
him on
He
the
gets down.
bed. He wants to get off the bed. You take him off the bed. He wants to get on the bed. I mean, he is totally out of his mind. Yeah.
Yeah, he does not receive any comfort.
No.
He just is kind of going in every direction.
No.
So letting him just, like, when he tries to get up there, you know it's not going to help if we do anything. So just telling him no, and then he gets a little more freaked and a little more freaked, and then he goes, okay, well, I guess I'll just lay down. Like, that's okay.
That was
Right.
better than the alternative. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to do that. I mean, just for people who are thinking about doing this, you don't want to do that if they really are scared and need comfort.
If you can comfort them, of course.
We
yeah.
should, right? But we don't help him at all.
No, I think it can prolong the freak out if you keep, like, trying to mess with him.
Yeah.
Rather
Yeah,
than-
he needs to. Which I think is, I mean, not having had kids, right? It's sort of the argument for the kids who start, at some point when you're trying to get them to sleep and they start screaming, and it, like, they want you to come in there, but it doesn't do anything. Like, at some point you need them to just go like, okay, well, I guess nobody's coming and I'm fine. Like, nothing's wrong with them. They're not actually scared of anything.
Yeah, it's described as they have to learn to go to sleep by themselves.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you can go in there and give them a bottle or pet them or sing them a song, and then they'll fall asleep. But then that's how they learn, right? That's how they get used to it. I mean,
Yeah.
I had roommates in law school who needed to have the TV on to go to sleep. They like missed that step, and that was their ritual, and they needed that, and he couldn't go to sleep without having TV on. So if you miss that stage of development, it can be problematic.
Interesting.
No.
Anyway, it's a good thing that I did not want to have babies with you or even step in and help raise your baby, because I'd be like, leave it alone, it's fine.
Well,
I would have
she
called
was
her
like
she. She
11 at the time.
She was 11. I would have called her she.
She was going to sleep by herself.
Still. Everybody's better off that I wasn't trying to be GR mom. That's such a bad idea. Okay.
That's Brody. He's otherwise fine.
Yeah, everybody's fine. Guac's good. Vink's good. No incidents.
Yeah.
Okay. I do have another topic for us, though. We got a message from friend of the squad, Denise, who says, Jen and Ingo, I would love to hear you talk about your followers in a podcast and the interaction between you and them. Do you think of us as friends you haven't met? Are there people who really cross the line and contact you constantly? Are there people who are just too familiar and really up in your business? She said business. Do you think we're just a bunch of weirdos? Okay, maybe not that last one. It would be interesting to hear your perspective. So that's a thing we can talk about.
Sure. It's fraught. What if we say the wrong thing and piss everyone off, and then we're off the air?
We don't want them as followers then
we're
anyway.
done. Then this podcast, the funding for this podcast, wait, never mind.
Wait, the
It's
$0?
fine. It's fine.
Sounds like, oh, that doesn't sound terrible.
Our ratings will go, oh, never mind.
We don't think you're all a bunch of weirdos, so that's
Nope.
good.
And we don't really we don't have a problem with people crossing the line or
It's very rare.
harassing us.
There was one person who wanted to get their partner like as a birthday present, potograph of all the dogs. Could all the dogs do a potograph? And like, that's basically, like, I don't even own one of those, right? That's a very hard thing to do. And it would take a long time.
The mess it would make and the time it would take and the number of treats we'd have to give out
the dogs
would be a half day event.
Yeah. And, the risk with this stuff is always like, occasionally, like, we can do one-off things for people. And we do, right? Like, we've done proposals for people, like, even, without Cameo, and, send birthday stuff on occasion, right? Like, I love sending, little stuff to people who it's like, hey, let me send you this thing, right? But that's the sort of thing where it's like, hey, could you do this? I'll pay you for it. And it's like, no. Like, one, it would take forever. And two, then, like, other people are going to want this thing. And also, I mean, I think, like, just, this isn't really about that person, but just in general, like, we both have very good paying and also pretty high pressure jobs. And the golden ratio is like our fun on the side. And so if it's like, okay, it would probably take 3 hours to really successfully do a paw print of all the dogs like that.
Yeah.
My going hourly rate, there is no way that you would be able to pay me what my actual working hourly rate is. And there's literally work I can be doing for those 3 hours that's not this.
Yeah.
$100 isn't going to cut it. $1,000 isn't going to cut it. Like, we have real jobs that pay us real money. And, so there's a lot of stuff like that, like, people may not realize how high effort it is. But that person DM'd me on every account and then emailed me, including at my work email. And I finally had to be like, it's not cool. Like, like, there was some message and they were like, did you get my messages? And I was like, yeah, I got your message. Like, they maybe even left me a voicemail at work.
I think they DM'd me to tell you.
Yes,
also. I mean,
they did.
It really was a thrashing.
I get that they were just trying to get something nice for their partner and really wanted to work at it. But man, like, there are times where I was like, it's not cool. Like, no. And yeah, I got your voicemail and your email at work. And yeah, no, like, I've got other stuff going on. Like, I was that's right. Cause they did message you and be like, is she seeing my messages? So yeah, that almost never happens. There've only been
so rare that we both remember it and that it's worth,
yeah,
contrast. Yeah.
And, in general, like, I try to respond to a lot of stuff, but as I think I just said, we both have high pressure jobs and mine's real busy these days, especially. So, like, I respond to comments and I respond to DMs, but I have absolutely given up. I don't even look at them on Snapchat. In fact, I may have turned them off. I almost never look at them at Instagram, and I get to maybe a quarter of them on Twitter at this point. And it's not that I don't care. And the worst is when people are like, hey, Jen, I have a question or a favor. And then I'm like, sure, what is it? And then they're like, this thing. And I'm like, oh, like, that thing's going to take a while. I'll get back to it. And then it's like a week later and I've gotten 100 more DMs since that one and I can't even find it. Like, none of you should take it personally if that happens, because I'm doing my best, but it's just like, this isn't our job, right? This is like our side project. And
yeah, you don't have a social media manager.
No, it's just too big to keep up with. Yeah, and we're not making, it's not a business. So it's like, if it were a business, we'd hire a person to do DMs for us and respond to requests and whatever, but that's not what we're doing.
Right.
So.
No, it's interesting. I mean, we going back to first principles, right? You made this to help distract people and make people feel better and see cute dog pictures during a really dark period in the country's history. And that certainly was appropriate well into COVID and is now too. And it's still terrible times. But that's the goal of it, not to do. It doesn't have a more highfalutin goal, but it is that. Yeah,
send you cute dog pictures to make you feel better.
Yeah, and it wasn't to share your political philosophy or to educate people about something, and so it's if we want to allow our fans to distract themselves and see something nice and fun and pure.
Yeah.
And when that happens and we get feedback that is happening, that is super gratifying. That is like the essence of this. All the other stuff is kind of developed and nice and good, but really, if we hear from people and people write us letters or they send us messages that, they feel better for watching our content, or some dog did something goofy, or Venk looks particularly silly today. That's great. That we love hearing that.
It's profoundly
right?
good.
And it is very gratifying, and it's better than, that's exactly why we're doing it, right? That's better than money. That's better than,
for
I don't
sure.
know. Avocados is pretty good, but it's probably better than the avocado. But, so we don't have any expectations beyond the basics, but we also don't, it has turned into other things, and there are certain things, that we wrote the book and stuff, but essentially it's supposed to be this kind of, I don't want to say goofy, but limited thing where it's just like, we're trying to make everyone feel a little better.
That's right. And so, there are definitely people who we talk to. I mean, I talk to people through all kinds of crises in the DMs, and there's certainly people that I DM with a lot that I do kind of think as like friendly people who I haven't met yet, or some of them I've like met briefly at a live show.
Right.
And so there's definitely people. I mean, there's some people who are friends of the squad who I only know through the account, who like have our home address and like we send each other stuff. Like that's pretty nice. Like people who I have personal conversations with, but it's a weird kind of space. Like there are definitely people who are kind of like frequent commenters who I would respond to, who I definitely was like, oh, like this is basically an internet friend of mine. And then there have been incidents where, like there was one where I posted something, and someone who's not one of our followers, I don't think, was really pissed off about it. I've curated the community pretty much that people who get pissed off about stuff that I do are filtered out. But this guy didn't like what I did and made a really passive aggressive post about it on his account. I had a long DM with him. I was like, hey, like, I hear that you're pissed off about this. I want to tell you where this is the thing I always do, right? Like, here's where I was coming from. I would really like to hear your perspective. We had this whole back and forth. He still left the thing up, calling me a bunch of names. And then one or two people who I were like, oh, these are like my internet friends, were like, oh yeah, well, I can see like where you're coming from on that. And it was like, I think they were like, I am a person that they follow, and this is another person that they follow, and they like both of us just fine. And we're like, ooh, drama between these people that I follow. But like actual friends that you have in life, at least actual people that I count as friends that I have in life, would be like, that's my friend Jen, and you should really be nicer to her about that,
right,
or whatever. And that was not the response, and that was very upsetting to me at the time, that I had like filed these people in my head as like, these are basically internet friends. Like we talk about stuff, and I mean, I have a good group of women friends who I've gone on vacation with, and we've gone to each other's weddings, who I met online.
This is pre-GR ratio, golden ratio, G ratio.
So like, I think internet friends are totally possible. And I had kind of filed these people as like, oh, these are kind of like internet friends. And then I was like, oh no, like these are people who follow our account and also talk to me, but they're not actually my friend. Like they're not the person who's like stepping up or defending me or interested in like my well-being.
Right.
And that was a really upsetting time. Like I think I called Blair Braverman. Mm-hmm. I DM'd her and I was like, Blair, it's terrible. And she's like, call me. And Blair Braverman, someone who I have met entirely through dog Twitter and who is my friend, and we have each other's phone number, and it's great. And she's like, yeah, they're not all your friends. There's people out there you're just like a person that they follow, and that they talk to a lot, and like that's great. So that experience, which happened a few years ago, really put me on like, you have to be careful, right? And I definitely am prone to being over vulnerable. How's that?
You're very nice, and you impute your your motives and your feelings about things to others too.
I'm very open though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Like on the first time we went out for beers with our friend Christian, you're just like, she just talked about everything.
Oh, you were telling me their whole life story. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I open up like very quickly.
Right.
And, you know, I think that's like me, like, okay, well, like I'll tell this thing, which is a little bit vulnerable, but that's going to let us become fast friends. Right. Because we can talk about this stuff.
Sure.
You got to be really careful when you're doing that on the internet with people that you don't actually know, who maybe don't feel the same way. Then they just have vulnerable things to poke at you with.
I know. I am much more closed because of this.
For sure.
Because if I share something, someone's going to use it against me. Is my fear. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, like that. Yeah. So that's very much a fear of yours, and a thing that just like in all parts of life, you're much more closely protected with, and I tend not to be. And some of these experiences have made me go like, I need to be way more careful. So I tend to do more. It tends to be more one way, where like people will come to me and like ask for advice, or they'll be like really upset about a thing. And, you know, the people who aren't in this group know who they are, where I've like shared plenty of personal things with them. But with a lot of people, I'm like, I'm totally happy to listen to this. Like, of course I'll listen to this. Like, do you just want me to listen to this? Like, your boyfriend sounds like an asshole. I'm really sorry that happened to you. And like, I mean, for sure, mean all of that, right?
Right.
But I'm not necessarily going to go like, yeah, our dad did that thing one time to me too, and I was really mad at him about it. Like, you got to really trust someone who's going to take that the right way. I mean,
you just made that up. That's never actually happened.
No.
There's nothing like that has ever.
Of course not.
Ever happened.
But yeah, I tend to do more listening and giving advice when I'm asked for it than, you know, there was somebody I was telling like all about my crazy ex-boyfriends and, you know, like why I had all these crazy ex-boyfriends and like that, you know, definitely putting some personal information in there. But it's a careful balance.
Yeah. And there are certainly people out there who genuinely care about you and are very concerned and are sort of on your side.
Yeah, and who I trust
would go to
deeply.
war for you on some of these exchanges too, maybe more than you would want. Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. And who have, right?
Yeah,
Those people are hilarious. We're like on my professional account, someone will come at me and then all of a sudden, like there's just like 4 people who are just like ripping their throat out on Twitter on my behalf. Like that's I love all of you guys who do that. It's really, you all don't have to do it for sure, but there's a few people who seem to take a lot of joy in it. And it's like, oh, I don't have to say anything now because these people just like went after them. Yeah, I mean, so it's a mix. Like I feel very warm and friendly to basically all of the followers.
Yeah, me too.
And think of you as like a certain type of friendly person that I haven't met yet. And some of those have turned into what I think are like real friendships.
Yeah. And
I think that's awesome when that happens. I would love that to be a thing at scale, but like not everybody. You know, not everybody.
But I also enjoy on a different level, right? That's one. That's the most serious potential interaction. But on a different level, I enjoy the goofy banter and the inside jokes and
love that. Yeah.
People slowing down my green beans. I mean, this is just funny
Slow-mo
stuff, right? Turning Chief Brody into a shark, and I mean, all this stuff is hilarious. I have no, you know, they have like 6 accounts with. You know,
Guac with 2 legs and
foods.
Foods. There's so many.
Are they all the same person, or is it?
No, there's
these are different people.
I mean, one person has multiple accounts.
Guac has 2 legs.
Guac with 2 legs
is one of a few accounts, right?
Yeah, but they're like CBT fees.
I think all that stuff is hilarious.
Oh, it's so good.
It is clever and it's clearly heartfelt and it's just nice.
Yeah, that's all wonderful.
Yeah. Vink Spins, I think is.
Vink Spins, yeah. Vink Close Up.
I think
Vink Close Up has like 3,000 followers now.
Right.
It's right. Vink Close Up.
Oh, well, she's my baby. I mean, she's gonna be the cutest of all of them. Yeah. No, it's yeah. So all that is great, and I mean, even the comments that are like, you know, Thanks, Barb Nelson. Is Ingo asleep yet? I mean, right on. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we sort of started.
Interplay is great.
We kind of started with the negative. Like, it's overwhelmingly positive because we've built a really good community. Everybody's very supportive of each other. We love the fan accounts and the inside jokes and the way that people make fun of us and
the dogs or defend the dogs against. It's just a bad angle.
Yeah. That's right.
Always a bad angle.
Yeah, like, well, Guac missed that ball because it was a terrible throw, whichever one of you threw it.
Yeah.
We think all of that's great.
Yeah.
Right. So, no, it's really only when, like, look, there's stress in our lives from, like, demand on our time for both of us. And for me, and I kind of talk about this on here, but, like, a lot of my job as a professor is being a public intellectual at this point, right? I go on TV, I tweet about stuff, I write op-eds in places. How many death threats have I gotten this year, GR Dad?
How many? Seriously? Am I supposed to
legit,
estimate?
how many? Do you know? I mean, we got to stop and think about it.
You don't tell me. I mean, you don't.
You've seen some of them. Me. I don't think any of them are like serious.
I'd say dozens.
Yeah.
And that's the worst. I mean, how many times have you been harassed and called names? Hundreds, I'm sure.
Every day, right?
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
And look, none of the death threats have been people going like, I know where you live and are coming, but there are people who've been like, well, I hope you're ready on campus because, like, I got my weapons and I'm coming for you. And it's like, okay, then I got to send it to the campus police and I got to tell the dean. Like, it's nothing, none of it is stuff that I worry about, but this is my social media life, right? I get this stuff in emails, I get it in DMs, sometimes I get it directly tweeted at me. I call some of this out on TikTok, right? I woke up to a message that called me a dumb, ugly cunt. Was right? That was a couple weeks ago. I think that's what he said. Because he didn't like a blog post that I had written about somebody else's, like summarizing someone else's research article. I get this every day, variations of this. And so it's when people get like a little over demanding of my attention or, kind of expect things from me. Like, you got to know that, like, the majority of my internet time is in that space, right? And if it's not that stuff coming at me, I spend plenty of time every day, not hours, but, depending on what's going on, half an hour, reading 4chan. And, there are posts that have little swastika emojis in the title. And, I did a post this week about this rumor that 4chan basically started about April 24th being National Rape Day. And then you have to, can you imagine the post? You don't never go to 4chan. But like,
don't worry, I don't know how.
No, it's just a website. You don't want to go there. And, the first post I read on 4chan was someone who had taken a picture of his sister getting out of the shower and posted it. And then it was like dozens of guys responding with like what they were going to do to this guy's sister. And that's good stuff that's on 4chan. And I read this every day as part of my work. And I talk about it in the media and I write about it. It's like a part of my work. It's so draining. It is so hard on my soul to read this stuff. But like, I'm one of the people who read it so I can talk about it to other people. So if you're like, Jen, I can't believe you didn't respond or you like didn't post my GoFundMe, like my reserves to apologize are kind of low, right? And that's where it's rare that this happens, right? Like, I love the positivity and the general comments and interaction. I retreat to the golden ratio when I need a break from the other stuff. But when the demands get high on my time, like people want a lot of stuff from me, that gets hard. Because it's like, man, like I have just been dealing with like, these dudes basically, saying that I need to die or get fired or be attacked or whatever. And then like, you're here bitching that I won't post your GoFundMe. I got 100 requests to post people's GoFundMes. I have never done it. And like, you're yelling at me about it. Like,
yeah. And that's a decision we've made where we can't post some, but not all, it just seems like, I don't know how Matt does it for dog rates, right? The But
it's like a huge process. Like they have to vet them all.
Yeah, I mean, it would feel like it's a whole different avenue if we're trying to
people
just
get mad
select
at them about that all the time.
which ones we should.
Someone's like, you should
support
post
or
all
not.
of them, Matt. And I jumped in. This is me being the other side. I mean, Matt and I are actual friends and have hung out many times in real life. Matt from We Rate Dogs. But someone was like, you should post everyone. Like the fact that these all get funded, like you should post all of them. And I was like, do you know how many of these he gets? Like his account would just be posting them. And she's like, whoever this person was like, well, like he has a responsibility with all those followers. I'm like, he wouldn't have those followers if he just posted 100 GoFundMes every day. No one would follow that account.
That's a website called Gofundme. Actually,
Yeah.
You can browse there if you'd like. Put up dogs.
Yeah, and they do a lot of work, and it's just like, this is the thing that we've decided we're not going to do. And, so like on one hand, I feel sort of bad. On the other hand, like there's a clear boundary here. This is not a thing we do.
Yeah, we have to have some limits.
And so when people, like it's a little draining when people just ask. I understand that they're in tough positions, but then to like ask a bunch of times and to get upset or to be tweeting at me a bunch, like those sorts of things that like really get demanding on my time, especially like emotionally demanding, then it gets a little bit hard.
Yeah.
But
all
this negative stuff is really small. Mm-hmm. Like most of it's just like the comments and stuff are lovely. The interactions are lovely. People send really supportive messages.
You guys are all pretty funny.
Very funny.
Maybe not as funny as me, but pretty funny. Pretty funny.
And we love hearing from people who feel like we've helped them with stuff.
Sure.
And, seeing like your class, people are like, I put your dog's pictures in my class presentation. I hope it's okay. I'm like, I want to see that presentation. Like, send me your PowerPoint slides. Like, this stuff is great.
Yeah.
It's just it kind of crosses the line if people are really insistent on getting some of our time, because like this is not our job, and there's a ton of other people who are insisting on that from a variety of perspectives.
Yeah.
But overall, it's like it helps my mental health so much to just be like, hey, I'm going to go just like read the comments on this picture of Chags that I posted today. Like that will make me feel better, and it does.
And that's why we're still doing it, right? We really.
Yep.
We believe there are people out there, a lot of people out there that like it and like seeing it. Like if I'm in doubt whether to post a weird looking snap of, Voods lying on his back looking crooked, I'll say someone's going to be amused by this, or it's going to distract someone. I'll put it up, or I'll videotape this, even though it's hard to peel an egg with one hand or something. Someone is going to want to see this and get a kick out of it, and it'll be great.
Yep.
And we get enough feedback that, yes, that is the case, right? People do enjoy it. So generally, it's a very positive interaction.
It's lovely. So yeah, we love everybody, and we love the whole community that has been built.
Mm-hmm.
But since the question was, are there people who cross the line? Do we think you're a bunch of weirdos? Do people get up in our business? Like almost never, to the point that when they do, it's remarkable. But like these are the things that sort of stick out as having been hard to deal with. Yeah.
I think that's a much more complete answer than maybe they were looking for.
Thanks for the question, Denise.
Yes. How about the question about softness of ears?
Oh, I forgot about that. That was in one of the letters. Someone
sent us. It came in hard copy. That's probably why it's not in your notes.
Yes. Someone sent us a letter.
With the avocados.
Was that with the avocados that they asked that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Which dog's ears are softest?
Which is an interesting question.
Good question, because ear softness does not necessarily correlate to body softness.
Yeah. We've been rubbing the ears.
We have been.
Rubbing ears.
So I rated all the dogs on the Blair Braverman Sled Dog Softness Index, the SDSI, which is a 2-dimensional ranking of sleekness and softness and fluffiness.
Fluffiness.
Yeah. Sleek to fluffy and coarse to smooth, I believe is what it was.
Interesting. This is very scientific. She's very smart.
Yes. Vink was the most soft. Vink was like off the chart on the SDSI.
All undercoat.
Very fluffy and soft.
Like a bunny, I've heard it described as.
She is kind of like a bunny.
Yeah.
Guac is like very sleek and smooth, but not super soft.
He dries well.
He does. Both CBGB and Voods are actually pretty rough coated. They look kind of soft, but they're kind of
Coursey?
coarse.
No, coarse. The hair kind of keeps its shape, right?
Yeah, but it's also kind of coarse. Not like St. Patrick. He was quite wiry.
Yeah, well, he wasn't gold.
No, at all. But compared to our dogs, like they are the least soft, the two of them, even though they look very soft because like cotton balls, they're not. No. Hops is also very soft. Hops came in.
Right, but he has an outer coat that is a little bit more on the sleek, the
Who does?
guac side. Oh, I'm sorry. Hops does, and I've been thinking she has fur kind of like guac on the outside. She has a little bit
but like not her chest. Her chest is like a
Her
cloud.
chest is like a cloud. Her
It's
belly
so
is soft. Her back has a little bit more of the wiriness.
A little bit, yeah. And right now, without question, Manchego is the softest dog in the house. He's so soft.
He's so soft. He is like Vink and then some.
Oh my God. Vink seems like a wire-haired terrier compared to him.
Yeah, he doesn't
so
really
soft.
look it. But he is softer
So
than
soft.
any of the other old dogs too.
Yep. I think he's the softest dog we've had.
Yeah.
That said, ear softness, ears have completely different texture than the rest of the body.
We were surprised.
Softest ears in the house? CBGB.
CBGB. Because they're kind of squishy.
Oh, they're so
He's
soft.
got kind of squishy ears.
But like the fur is so soft.
Yeah.
It's so soft.
They're not very big either. They don't hang down very much. Maybe that's it.
Like Hop's ears are very silky.
Yeah.
Which is also soft, but it's a different kind of soft.
That crinkly fur is actually quite soft. Yeah. But they're thin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brody's ears are thicker and squishier.
I mean, everybody's ears are soft. Everybody has soft ears.
You got to start there.
But yeah, CBGB, softest ears. We were feeling them. I was like, wow, they're really soft. So soft.
Yeah, surprising.
Yeah. Given how coarse the rest of him is.
Yep.
So there you go. So Vink's up there. Chegs are up there. But we were like, I had Vink's ear in one hand and Brody's ear in the other hand. And I was like, no, Brody's
still
much
wins.
softer.
It's almost silky. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or suede-y. I don't know what the softer fabric would be.
Yeah. Like that lamb's ear plant. Do you know that plant?
Yes.
That's
You just want to pet it.
I pet it all the time. Pet that plant.
And unlike some plants in Florida, it doesn't have like hidden spikes or, it's not prickly pear-like or anything like that where you're just like, oh, this looks great. It's going to kill me. Yeah, I'm dead.
No, I'm going to suffer.
I'm dead.
So there you go. That is the answer. Everybody very soft. CBGB most soft.
If we ever do live shows, I'm sure people will be testing this theory.
We may be doing a live show in Rockville in the fall. I have been emailing with the theater trying to figure out dates that might work. So,
well, we have to paint
Rockville, Maryland.
We have to paint the RV and make it look like the Partridge Family bus or something.
Oh my God, we could bring them all
like
in the RV.
Touring. We probably would.
I didn't even think about it, but yeah, we would because we'd only have one car up there.
We have a ton of dogs.
Oh my God.
We'll probably have more by then. Every time I go get groceries, there's a risk.
Yeah, G.R. Dad did go get groceries this week.
I actually got groceries. I actually got a vaccination, and
got
groceries.
COVID shot number 2, and I was like, there's a Whole Foods right by the place you're going. You got to go, it was a 3-hour drive instead of all the way up in Tampa this time. 3.5 hours. But I was like, go to Whole Foods and bring me back cheese and guacamole.
Yeah, and I kept an eye out, but there weren't any dogs running around.
You made to put that back in the bucket.
At Whole Foods or otherwise.
Nope, sorry.
It was a good neighborhood.
Yes, so G.R. Dad did just go for a COVID vaccine and groceries. You're going to Maryland for
next week.
Groceries.
I'm still debating which of the dogs to take and how many of them.
Your dad's going to be up in Maryland for like a week and a half. I know. And then he's like, he was trying to figure out when to go. And I was like, well, why don't you just go on this day? And he's like, well, I'd miss you. And I was like, look, it'll be fine. And he's like, I think I'm going to take Guac. And I was like, okay. And I was like, oh no, Guac's going to be gone for like 10 days. I'll miss Guac so much. And then I was like, oh, I feel a little bad.
I didn't realize the contrast in those reactions until you just recited them together. Yeah, that is kind of hurtful to me, isn't it?
I love you, dear Dad.
But I really need Guac in the bed.
But I love Guac so much.
Yeah, then I thought maybe I'll take Vink. Vink travels well.
You take whoever you want.
I mean, I love Hops, but Hops
she
gets
hates the car.
Stressed driving. She can tolerate it and she won't throw up or throw a fit, but she just sits there and pants and it feels. We've put her on Xanax before, I
Xanax.
think.
No, there's no reason to subject her to 40 hours of driving.
She would suffer. Yeah, I don't want that.
No, Guac loves the car.
Guac loves it.
Vink's good too. Will you put her in the cargo area in the little bed? And she's like, guys, this is great. Look at my little space.
Yeah, Vink is very happy. You don't see her head for 12 hours, and then it pops up and looks around sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's jury's still out. Dice are still being rolled. I'm still evaluating everyone's behavior. If they're bad, they don't get to come.
Look, you're not taking foods.
Foods would be hilarious. The one time I put him in the car and he tried to like slide under my seat from behind.
So he's clearly not going.
He's not good at
Brody's
this.
not going.
No one who has a really hard time getting in and out of the car.
Yeah,
right? That's
Chigs isn't going to go.
No.
Hops hates it, and so it's Guac and Vink are the only two options.
Yeah, I should bring them both, and they won't be lonely.
Pick one or both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you like. It'll be a split squad.
I don't want to. I mean, I don't want you to be without your guacaman.
It's okay. I'll survive.
You'll have to FaceTime him.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Yeah. I have to FaceTime my guacaman.
And me.
Oh, I FaceTime you every day that you're gone.
Yeah, I know. True.
I know. I did feel a little bad when I was like, I'll miss Guac so much. And I was like, oh, this feels worse than I was saying about
I just told Ingo he can go whenever he wants for however long he wants.
I mean, Inga's like, but I won't see you for 10 days. And I was like, you've seen me all day, every day for the last year and a half.
Now get out.
No, I didn't think so. You're going to be gone for a long time. Like 2 days without Giardad, I'm like, yes, I get the house to myself. I'm going to smear stuff on my face and watch bad TV and eat potato chips.
That's what you say. I've never witnessed this smearing.
That's because I do it when you're not here.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very mysterious.
Face masks when Ingo's gone. But 10 days is a long time.
I know.
That's
why I was resisty.
It's going to be okay, though.
There are logistical reasons why it makes sense.
No, it'll be good. Bring me back some euros from Happy Euro.
From Comey, yeah.
And, yeah. And you're going to bring back groceries. I'm going to have Whole Foods send you a bunch of stuff.
Trunk full of cheese.
We did all of our shopping at Whole Foods in Maryland, and there's no Whole Foods in the Keys. The closest one's in Miami. And when I had Chigs in Miami to get his eyes checked, I had to wait around all day.
It blew your mind. I mean, you just had this flash of inspiration.
I was like, I can go to Whole Foods. And I was fully vaccinated. And I was like, I can go into Whole Foods. I haven't been in a grocery store since before Thanksgiving. And I can just walk around and pick stuff out. And I did. And oh my God, the stuff. I mean, Publix is a great grocery store. And that's where we get our stuff here in the Keys. But Whole Foods has a ton of really good stuff. And
it's just different, right? You can't get it at Publix, so it was like it was absence makes the heart. It was like, oh, I haven't seen those crackers in a year,
But they also their prepared food is really good. I got these asparagus goat cheese croquettes. Those were delish.
Those were good. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get. We totally would have got some more of those. They have empanadas, especially in Miami, but even the one. Even the one in Whole Foods.
They also make really good guacamole. I mean, you make great guacamole. But
their guacamole is so good.
Theirs is in a different direction, almost as good. Yeah.
Theirs is great. And so it's so I stopped and I got a whole bunch of stuff when Chase got his eyes fixed. And then I was like, it's maybe worth the 3-hour drive each way to go to Whole Foods every couple of weeks. So Giardad happened to be getting his COVID shot. Went to Whole Foods. Now he's going up to Maryland. He'll come back with some Whole Foods, and we're gonna kind of stay stocked in it for a while. But I forgot how much I missed the stuff that we got. We always would get a ton of guacamole, and the staple stuff that we would get every week in Maryland is stuff that we haven't had here. I make guacamole every week, but we would get guacamole from Whole Foods, which is I like it better than mine.
Than you making it. Easier for you. Yeah.
And I mean, theirs is really good.
And with here, we always have the
you got to get the avocados in exactly the right day.
5-minute window. Not the day. It's the 2 hours during the day that they're ripe and not squishy.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, we've diverged here. Do you have a German word of the week?
Did we have diverged? Yes. I looked this up because I wasn't actually familiar with it, but it's Fukuhila, which was an abbreviation in the 80s when this was done. I don't think it's
an abbreviation of?
Vorne kurz, hinten lang.
So it means front short, back, long, or behind long.
Yeah, but it sounds like a Nordic word or something. It's pretty cool. It's not. It's just an abbreviation, but it's a mullet. It's the mullet haircut. That is. I mean, I think it still exists to some extent.
The mullet or the word?
The mullet, but it's not a popular thing. It was like a sort of more prevalent in the 80s.
It's gross, man. Don't get a mullet. Like, you think you're being ironic or cool. You're not. You're not. You look like an idiot. GR Mom declares mullets are bad.
It's business in the front, Jen. It's all business in the front. But party in the back. A lot of hockey players have mullets or in their history. The old hockey trading cards always have
hockey players could be really attractive guys if they had better haircuts.
Glorious mullets. Yeah.
Terrible. Cut your hair.
It's such a weird choice.
Hibby.
Like, if you're going to cut your hair, why don't you cut all the hair? I'm a little mystified too. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one. Say it again.
Fokuhila.
Okay. Fokuhila. Yeah. That's funny. Stupid. Don't get that haircut. Everybody don't get it.
They probably had it in East Germany.
Actually, get whatever haircut you want, unless you're interested in whether or not I would find it attractive.
That's right. If you want
the GR Mom stamp of approval,
then maybe mullets are out.
GR Dad was first accidentally translating this to Mohawk, and I was like, that's awesome. Get a Mohawk if you want my approval.
I was puzzled because I said Mohawk, but was thinking mullet.
Yeah.
And Mohawk is awesome, or has potential for being awesome. Mullet, you get some tough potential. Why wouldn't you just cut the back too?
Cut the back too.
I understand.
Cut it.
Yeah, but I'm an old man. I don't understand these newfangled things.
It's not newfangled. It's just dumb. Okay, the Taste of the Keys this week are some square groupers that washed ashore both on Big Pine Key and our key, Sugarloaf Key.
We didn't find them. We're always
not.
a little bit disappointed.
9 pounds of marijuana in multiple bales were found washed up near Sugarloaf Key, and then later in the afternoon, another 8 pounds were found washed up at Big Pine Key.
I don't know how much 9 pounds of pot is, but I bet it's a lot. I mean, it doesn't compress that much.
Yeah, well, multiple bales.
No.
So, yeah. Passers-by in both incidents contacted the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. You guys, this is the only thing to do, because you don't want a massive drug trafficker to get mad at you for stealing their square groupers that wash up on your beach.
There are movies about this that are all cautionary, and there are stories about this that are all cautionary.
There's a Murders in Paradise episode about this.
That's right. It might have been cocaine, but
it was cocaine. They found a square grouper of cocaine, and these like fishermen up in the Upper Keys, one of them was out fishing, found it, and he and his buddy decided they were going to sell it. They started spending all this money. I think one of them opened a tattoo parlor, and then one of them ended up killing the other one and his girlfriend, and then like the 2 kids were in the house, little kids
running out in the street. Oh my
God, they were found by a neighbor because they were walking down the street and they had drawn headstones on construction paper because they knew that's what you did for dead people. So they they were like 6 and 4 or something. They made construction paper headstones for their mom and the mom's boyfriend, and then we're walking down the street with like blood on them, and a neighbor found them, and then found the kids, and then found the couple in the house, and it was all over the square grouper. It was sad. The saddest story.
Terrible. Yeah. So it's a funny concept, and it would be fun to find it, but that it ends there. That's the end of it.
You call somebody who's not you.
Maybe there's a reward. That would be fine. That's above board.
Yeah.
But that's about it. Yeah. I mean, if we find a package of cash,
I'm keeping the money.
That's
if I
a
find
little
it.
bit different. Yeah, that is immediately translatable and doesn't have to involve the underworld. You can spend cash at Publix. You can't spend cocaine at Publix.
I mean, neither GR Dad nor I take or use any drugs, marijuana included. I hate hanging out with high people. I find them really annoying.
We're just too cheap. Or I'm too cheap.
This is 100% not true. If you find a square grouper and you want to break a hunk off and like bring it home and entertain yourself, I won't judge you. But do not take that bale home. So these people were smart, and they called the sheriff, and the sheriff called the border patrol, who took possession of the bales. The sheriff's office, a little afraid of the drug trafficker, said the sheriff's office had no further involvement.
Don't call us.
The Border Patrol tweeted the marijuana weights as described above.
And this one did not involve Coral, the drug-sniffing dog of the Keys.
No. They were able to apparently just identify those bales quite easily. So there you go.
The Keys oddity.
Square
that is still going on. I mean, you'd think that went away in the whatever the drug trafficking heyday was, but it's still going on.
Lots of drugs coming in through the Keys. This is, so we have a blimp.
Yes.
The Fat Albert is this surveillance blimp that's up in the Keys.
Hey.
If you watch the snaps from the water, you'll see it sometimes. It's it will probably look like a little white dot on the snaps, but it's a big
blimp.
It has 250,000 cubic feet of helium in it. It is a helium balloon. It is tethered to the ground. I've kayaked past it. Like, you just watch, there's a big wire and it goes straight up into the sky, and there's this giant blimp.
It's at different heights.
It looks kind of like a World War II bomb. It's got like a big oblong front and like little fins on the back.
It doesn't have Zeppelin shape. It's not cigar shaped. It's bomb shaped.
Yeah. And it's up there, and it has, a whole bunch of like radar equipment in it. And so it broadcasts TV Marti, which is like the equivalent of Radio Free Europe, but TV. And in Spanish, they broadcast that to Cuba from the blimp. And then they also use it to monitor drug trafficking coming into the Keys. I don't know how they do it, and it probably is used for other stuff that we're not told about. But yeah, a lot of drugs come up by boat to the Keys, and then if you feel like you're going to get caught, or sometimes they just drop the stuff off the boat, and then there's a separate boat that's supposed to come pick it up, and so they'll miss some, or they'll drop it from planes, right? The planes will come over, they'll drop the drugs into the water, and then there's a boat waiting to pick them up, and they'll miss something or have to go.
It's been historically a thing that people have, but with piracy and bootlegging during Prohibition, it was a big thing. The rum runners here were big. There's a lot of places you can kind of hide stuff and pass things on, and then this is the extension of the mainland, and then it's up in Miami in no time.
Yeah, once you get it in here, it's easy to get it up there.
Yeah,
that's partially why that we are the Conch Republic now, because in the 80s they put a border checkpoint between the Keys and the mainland, and we were like, excuse me, we are part of the United States, why is there a border checkpoint here? And so they wouldn't take it down, and so the Keys are like, fine, we secede, we're our own country now.
It was Independence Day recently, wasn't it?
This last week, I think. So
we're still kind of independent.
It's a very different place down here than it is everywhere else. And Jared Dad, who let's say has a historical record of picking extremely crappy stuff to watch on Amazon Prime.
I go for quantity over quality.
You do.
Sometimes there are gems in there, but there's a bunch of sand around the gems.
Oof. So this week he found this actually pretty interesting documentary that had like won an award at the Key West Film Festival.
Random,
about this like 75-year-old sailor, had been a sailor all his life. He's like a admiral in the Conch Republic Navy, which is not a thing. It's just dudes in the Keys who own boats. And he had this big like old school sailboat, and in like after Obama opened things up, 2016 or 17?
2016,
they sailed to Cuba, and he had grown up spending a lot of time in Cuba, and so it's kind of him telling a lot of his life stories and them sharing some pictures. But he was in Key West for the boat lift, the Mariel Boatlift.
Mariel.
And so this was a thing that like I have heard of, the Mariel Boatlift.
Was it 95? Was it?
It was before that.
Was it 80s?
It was in the 80s,
Maybe it was 1980, yeah.
The Mariel Boatlift. And so this was basically, let's see. Oh, there's a bunch of pictures that I've pulled up here. April 15th to October 31st, 1980. And it basically was all these people like who were trying to get out of Cuba, and Castro's like, you know what, if you want to leave, you can leave. But you have to go by boat.
And he emptied the jails. It was...
He let people out of jails.
Dumped a bunch of undesirables in there too, yeah.
And mental institutions and anybody who wanted to leave, but you had to have Cuban Americans come get you, and they had to come by boat into Mariel, which was a port in Cuba. Is a port in Cuba. And so there were hundreds and hundreds of boats, and so Key West is by far the closest.
Yeah, 90 miles from Key West is not that far. You can get crappy boats across 90 miles. Right?
Yeah. But I mean, it's twice, it's 190 miles to Miami, right? Key West is where you're going to come to. And so all these boats are going down there. People are chartering boats. And so this guy's talking about how he's in Key West and he doesn't want to get in any legal trouble. So he decides he's not going to go because he does charter his boat.
Because he also was from Cuba and he thought he was going to be in trouble with Cuba.
Yeah. And that this Cuban family comes down and they've chartered this, sounds like a party boat, like 150 person boat from Miami, and they get to Key West and the crew's like, nope, I'm out. And they just abandoned the boat in Miami. And basically the grandma is like crying and convinces him to go get the people.
The grandchildren. And we've got to get the children. And
so they're going to pick up 100 people in Cuba. And they get to Mariel, and he's like, I thought, we just wait a few hours and get to our turn. And they were there 18 days in the port waiting because there's hundreds of other boats waiting to get called in. And he ends up in the office of like this...
Some colonel.
Who puts a gun out on the table. He's like, you're going to take who I tell you to take. And he's like, nope, I'm not. And the guy puts a gun on the table. He's like, so I pulled my Bowie knife and put it out on the table. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? You're... And anyway, they end up loading his boat up with like 350 people.
It's rated for 99.
Yeah, rated for 99. They were going to they had 35 people from the U.S. coming on the boat to Cuba to basically meet their relatives. They were going to pick up, I think, 110 people. So they were already going to overload it. But whatever, it's 90 miles. It's a few extra people. 350 people on the boat. And he's like, I'm not taking any more. And they're like, we could put another captain in this boat, the Cubans. And he's like, I guess you're going to have to then. He's just calling their bluffs every time. And they're like, fine, get out of here.
But they showed a picture. I mean, no one could sit down or lay down. It was like packed. People had to stand. It was
stuffed on there. And he's like, it's like really rough seas. This boat's just like rolling all over the place. It's like a party boat, right?
It's a schooner. Yeah. I mean, it's a sailboat. Yeah.
And it wasn't his boat, right? This was a different boat.
Oh, that's right. It was rented. Like a launch. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, they're all getting sick on the boat. And then, then we get into Key West. And so I pulled up these pictures of Fort Zachary Taylor in Key West, which is, like cruise ships can dock there. Obviously, Coast Guard ships are based there. And there's just this massive operation of them, helping these people off the boats. And they have nothing, right? They're like...
They were allowed to leave. That's it.
They got the clothes that they're wearing and that's it. They don't have any food. They don't have any money. They don't have anything. And, bringing them out in like the makeshift like housing that they set up and then the like basically refugee camps that they had to have everywhere. It is crazy.
And then they processed them to Miami, right? Or spread them around the country. So.
Yeah, some of them went to Pennsylvania, some went to Arkansas, and there was like a riot in the Arkansas like immigration camp they had set up for these Marielitos. And that's why Bill Clinton didn't get reelected governor in Arkansas. I mean, all of this stuff going, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But so I was like, I've heard of the Mariel Boatlift. That's it. I had heard of it. And so I'm like, dear Dad, how many people do you think came over in the Mariel Boatlift? It's 125,000 Cubans came to the U.S. in the Mariel Boatlift.
In 6 months. That's a lot.
In 6 months. Just boats, and they showed, they had these pictures of just these boats streaming into this harbor and then streaming back into Key West, all these people coming through Key West.
It's like Dunkirk.
It was, it was sort of like the footage you see of Dunkirk.
But a different selection process. This really was just Cuba dumping its... not people that
it was supposed to be like, okay, I'm a Cuban American, I want to get my family out, so I charter a boat, I take it down to Mariel, they meet me in the harbor, get on my boat, and I bring them back. And instead,
finally allowed to leave. Yeah,
Cuba is just putting whoever they want on every boat and telling you to do what they want. It was
doesn't make you too warm. The documentary doesn't make you too warm and fuzzy about Cuba. It's interesting. I mean, it does about Cuba in the 30s. Yes.
Cuba the country and Cuba the people, it makes you very warm and fuzzy about. But Cuba the government, it definitely does not.
Exactly, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was called The Old Man and the Sea.
Oh, The Old Man and the Sea, Return to Cuba.
Return to Cuba, yeah. It's not about Hemingway.
Yeah.
Don't get tricked. There's a book by Hemingway also.
Thanks.
She's laughing.
Thanks, dear Dad.
It's not that.
It's on Amazon Prime, right?
It's charming. Yeah, I think it's free. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazon Prime.
So anyway, yeah. I mean, the Keys are the closest place to everything else if you're coming from the south.
But it was the same with rum running from Cuba to the Keys, and they would all hide in the mangroves, and the revenuers would chase them and shoot at them and stuff. It was very interesting.
So there you go.
It's for another day. That tale's for another day.
Indeed. Keys. Maybe we'll do a Murders in Paradise about rum running in the Keys.
Yeah.
You can do that.
What's her name? Bad bitch rum.
Yeah.
Spanish Marie.
There's the place that we get our rum, Key West Legal Rum down here. They have
I think she was not Spanish and her name was Marie. But anyway.
Yes. They have a variety of rum called Bad Bitch Rum, which is, I think it's a sort of spiced dark rum.
Yeah.
And it's named after Spanish Marie, who is neither Spanish nor named Marie, but she did a lot of rum running.
Was apparently quite a badass.
She was like a pirate, basically.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Very badass. Yeah, we'll do a separate thing about that, which would be fun.
Okay.
All right, I think that's it. You got anything else to add?
I think that was pretty good.
That was a good one.
What do you want from me?
No, we did a good job, Dad. Good job. All right, well, until next week, don't put anyone unless they ask you to.
Yeah.
Hey, and get vaccinated.
Yeah, and then
keep wearing a mask
on
for
the
a while.
way and stuff.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.